Let me tell you about one of the most popular romance visual novel developers out there, a brand known for their cute girls, fluffy romance, and emotional confessions. A fan favorite among romance fans, in which they perfected their formula to bring hit after hit. Yuzusoft. Hi, my name is August, and here are my breakdown recommendations of every Yuzusoft visual novel, from what makes one special to why you should check them out, especially if you're a new VN reader and are looking for a romance title. So let's start off with Senran Banka, their most popular title, with over 700,000 purchases and plenty of active players reading daily. It's got a little bit of everything: romance, comedy, action, and mystery. A visual novel where a rural tourist town's historical tradition and folklore meets modern rom-com hijinks. The story begins when our main character, Masaomi Arichi, visits a lively countryside village to help out at his grandfather's inn. The vintage tourist town is full of history and quirks, from scenic hot springs and sacred festival dances to the legendary Murasame Maru, a divine sword that no one has managed to pull out of its stone. At least until Masaomi tries pulling it out and ends up breaking it in half. To make amends, Masaomi is forced to marry the village's shrine maiden, and things only get weirder when the spirit of the sword, a girl named Murasame, appears before him. Masaomi may have found himself in a weird situation, but it was only the beginning to him meeting a bunch of interesting girls. There's Yoshino, the serious and dutiful shrine maiden, but is clumsy and awkward when it comes to adolescent affairs like making friends. Mako, the loyal yet teasing ninja bodyguard, who gets easily flustered the moment the focus is on her. Lena, an optimistic and bountiful foreign transfer student, an all-around load of fun to be around. And Murasame, the spirit guardian of the divine blade, who's just adorably cute in many ways. One of my personal favorite girls and routes in here, just to note. As much as you'll see the couples engage in some wholesome fun activities and cute moments, their mission in slaying evil spirits is also a significant aspect of the story too. Personally, I like how the story's folklore narrative helps promote the budding relationship between Masaomi and the rest of the girls. He becomes that spark for real change, helping the heroines confront very personal things that they've been quietly carrying for years. Murasame's route in her story is one big highlight I would like to point out in particular. It's through both the cast's spirit-slaying adventures and average everyday life that they're able to really open up to each other. It's very sweet and gets pretty emotional too. Really, Senran Banka has a lot to offer. There's deep, mysterious lore, intense supernatural action, lighthearted comedic skits, and intimate, heartfelt moments. Even passionate scenes too. A great mixture of stuff, and it's why I would recommend Senran Banka as a good beginner starter if you never read a Yuzusoft visual novel before. Hell, I would even recommend it as a great beginner romance visual novel in general. And now, next up is Sanaba Witch. Fun fact, this is the very first Yuzusoft title I ever read, and to this day, it still holds up as one of their most heartwarming gems, not just for me, but for a lot of other people as well. A beloved title so sweet, so charming, and so genuinely wholesome that this visual novel and its characters might just stick with you forever. The story follows Shuji Hoshina, a guy with a strange ability where he can perceive other people's emotions through his senses. For example, lies taste like sour lemons and hatred is like drinking rotten stew. After a while, having to deal with it for so long left him emotionally numb. That is, until he accidentally discovers what arousal tastes like, after walking in on a mysterious girl named Nene having a little bit too much fun with herself. As it turns out, Nene is a witch bound by a magical contract where in exchange for the chance for her wish to be granted, she suffers random, uncontrollable bursts of lust. From there, the two exchange secrets and Shuji's life begins to change as he helps Nene complete her contract. Now, Sanaba Witch may have started out intentionally horny, an eye-raiser at first 100%, but there's actual genuine heart and soul in here. For this is a visual novel about exploring love and relationships, and for all of the heroines, they have their own standout charms to them. Meguru is an energetic, cheerful, teasing underclassman, but is also hiding a more sensitive, timid side. Sumugi is an endearing, considerate classmate, very motherly even, given you disregard her boyish outfits. Toko is an alluring, mischievous upperclassman when it comes to romance, but naive when it comes to her own love troubles. And Nene, where while she is a refined, kind, trustworthy girl at first glance, already revealed her hand of being a very clumsy scatterbrain that gets innocently horny. You'll get some adorably cute reactions from the girls, where you'll get a goldmine of teasing and embarrassing moments. What really makes this title shine is how it uses its supernatural setup to explore and discuss the many complications of relationships and open communication, topics that many could find relatable and solutions worth taking away from as personal advice. While the romance is the clear focus, the whole visual novel is blanketed with uplifting, positive messages about helping others. My personal favorites are Meguru, simply because of how adorable she is as an endearing underclassman due to how clingy and affectionate she gets, but I do also have to highlight Nene, as while her situation can make for some fun comedic moments, her route hits you with some of the most dramatic and heartfelt story moments in the whole game, making it the emotional anchor of the entire visual novel experience. Son of a Witch is a warm, feel-good story about finding emotional connection. It's sweet, it's sincere, and it just might surprise you with how genuine it is. Next up is a title in which I believe has the best world building out of all of them, for it's a supernatural thriller slice-life story about vampires with superpowers living on an isolated island, Riot. The story begins with Yuto Mitsuru accompanying his friend on a holiday trip to Aqua Eden, an artificial island city where gambling and sex activities are permitted. However, his holiday plans are suddenly interrupted after he gets involved in a kidnapping plot, and to make matters worse, he ends up getting turned into a vampire in the process. As a newly born vampire, Yuto can no longer leave Aqua Eden, so with nowhere else to go, he ends up living in a vampire dormitory and working for a security task force. What you'll find out very quickly is that vampires aren't all enemies, because the ones you'll meet in Riot are both charming and interesting in their own ways, with plenty of fun interactions. Mew is a veteran detective vampire with an air of superiority, but gets easily embarrassed by her own teasing. Azusa is a human security officer that's very responsible and diligent, despite being treated like a child. Rio is a kind yet naive vampire that works as a waitress, one with superhuman-like strength. And Elena is a Russian vampire that controls electricity and is also a girl that's very shamelessly forward in her seductive appeal. Mew and Elena are my top personal picks in here. They have very captivating personalities, and their routes are my absolute favorites in here. Now, whenever the story isn't indulging in pure slice of life or romantic moments, it's balancing its action thriller side as well. There's some pretty interesting plot threads and superpower action fights in here. It gets very hype in some routes. What's amusing is that this isn't typical for a Yuzusoft title, a brand that's usually focused on telling slice of life romances. Here, the story even tackles a bit of interracial concepts too, given the underlying tension between the humans and the vampires. It's world building that I found pretty neat and appreciated. Riot is definitely a lot more action heavy compared to the other titles, but it is still definitely worth a read for that Yuzusoft romance charm. Next up is Riddle Joker, Yuzusoft's take on secret spies, hidden superpowers, and mysterious agendas. An action spy romance, but still retaining that Yuzusoft style of being cute, comedic, and very wholesome. In a world where astrals, human with supernatural powers, exist, our main character, Satoru Arihara, works undercover for a secret organization tasked with managing astral-related incidents. His new task assigned him is to infiltrate Kika Academy, a school filled with astrals, alongside his sister Nanami. Unfortunately, things get messy as Satoru's cover is blown away by none other than the student council president Ayase Mitsukasa. But instead of a mission failure, the incident actually pulls him deeper into the school's hidden secrets, including Ayase's biggest one. My favorite part of Riddle Joker is that there's hints of future tension baked into the story and characters. Satoru's spy missions are important, so what happens when he gets more attached to these girls he gets close to for his job? There's Nanami, Satoru's dedicated spy partner as well as faithful little sister, Hazuki, an upright, rigid, and dutiful bound girl as the daughter of a police officer, Mayu, an upperclassman and esteemed astral researcher, one that fits right into that older Onesan personality, and Ayase, a girl that reps as the Academy Student Council president and internet sensation, but is actually a rather lazy, moody, and short-tempered individual. These girls all have their own unique circumstances that makes the relationship development amusing to watch, given their opposing positions. But when you really get down to the core of it all, these spy antics really just becomes the vehicle to deliver Yuzusoft's signature brand, appealing heroines, charming banter, and sweet, wholesome, intimate bonding. A couple of notable highlights, especially for me, is Ayase's two-faced attitude that never fails to make me laugh, Mayu's warm, comforting attractiveness that's just super wholesome, and Nanami's exceptional sisterly traits, leading to some very passionate scenes. Riddle Joker is a nice blend between action and romance, and while personally isn't one of my favorites of the bunch, is still a decent selection in that Yuzusoft library of romance titles. Now, out of all the games Yuzusoft has released, Parquet is their most unique title. I would even call it their most underrated and most hidden visual novel, all because it chose to focus on being a full-blown sci-fi drama instead of a romance title. It's a story revolving around the quiet, emotional connections people form when they're trying to figure out their lives in the process. In a future where technology allowed the human mind to connect directly with machines, a secret illegal experiment created someone completely new, Kanato Ibuki, a person born from the memories of others. With no sense of self, he escapes his isolated facility and steps into the real world to search for his purpose. Along the way, he meets Tsubasa Kido and Rino Ibaraki, two girls whose lives have also been dramatically affected by unethical brain-machine research. Because as it turns out, Rino and Tsubasa are not only two different people, but two different personalities coexisting in the same body. What makes Parquet such a standout title is how it takes its sci-fi elements and uses it to explore the characters on a deep emotional level. The game is full of quiet, reflective scenes, whether it's casual talks over food or small moments of vulnerability, and all of them gradually builds the friendship between Rino, Tsubasa, and Kanato. Rino is a rather secluded individual with very few acquaintances, almost coming across as cold and distant, but upon further talking with her, reveals that she's actually a very compassionate, gentle soul that enjoys quiet interactions with good company. Meanwhile, Tsubasa embodies a warm, friendly attitude as big as her bottomless appetite. She's a confident and sociable girl, but there's traces of her enigmatic and mysterious nature with a dash of melancholy at the same time. And then you have Kanato, who, while composed of other people's memories, has to depend on both Rino and Tsubasa to navigate the world and find himself in the process. Parquet is full of scenes showing off their casual intimacy, and when you consider this isn't a romance title, I find it very noteworthy. Of course, there's charming quirks here and there, but this story really wants them to come across as more grounded and authentic young adults. Rino's my favorite, but Kido has some exceptionally strong points to her too. One special highlight I would also like to point out is that both Rino and Tsubasa are voiced by Nao Tayama, a very popular anime voice actress who might have voiced some anime characters you like, and overall does a fantastic job both separating and highlighting the two female leads. Parquet's sci-fi concept and its brain memory technology is compelling, but the story always chooses to focus on the true heart of the story in its characters. If you're looking for a very short title to read, Parquet is a fine option to pick. Now, while some of the previous titles had a dash of action in them, Cafe Stella and the Reaper's Butterflies is one of Yuzusoft's more calmer titles, a supernatural, comfy romance story revolving around opening a small little cafe. The story follows Kosei Takamine, an average college student who suddenly dies in a car accident, but just as quickly, he finds himself waking up on the same morning of the day he died. He returns to the site of his death, only to meet a literal goddess of death and her talking cat companion. She informs him that he hasn't escaped death yet, and in order to escape his fate, he'll have to help her with her work, which just so happens to involve opening a cafe. Now, while the premise is pretty simple, with a couple of interesting supernatural elements here and there, the biggest highlight is how the characters feel slightly different from previous heroines in mainline Yuzusoft titles. Rather than having exaggerated anime archetype traits designed to make the characters be as attractive and appealing as possible, the characters in Cafe Stella feel much more grounded, still charming with plenty of adoring cute factors, but with a subtle realism in how they express their emotions. There's Natsume, a calm, cool, and collected individual, standoffish and unapproachable at first, but friendly and sociable given time and given you don't anger her. Mei, a happily spirited and doting underclassman, ready to hit you with her charitable personality and smile. Nozomi, a sassy but cheerful and kind childhood friend, ready to support our main character with her knowledge of sweets and good food. And of course, Kana, our poster girl Grim Reaper, an extraordinary person where, despite her job status, is very down to earth and insightful. You'll watch these characters do their best to open a cafe from its humble beginnings to a thriving, bustling state. There's something super homely and cozy in these slice-of-life moments where the characters are working together to make this cafe a success. That developing environment ends up leading Kosei to grow closer to his female companions, as well as growing individually as a person. Natsume's route is my favorite instance of this, but overall, there's some really great intimate bonding scenes in here. To the visual novel's benefit, there's also that supernatural element always lying in the background to give the story that extra drama oomph to it. Kana's route is the clearest sign of that impending foreboding, naturally compelling for sure. If you're looking for a more relaxed, comfy rom-com, Cafe Stella and the Reaper's butterflies is a easy pickup recommendation. Next up is Yuzusoft's hottest new romance title, and a visual novel I would like to say is my favorite visual novel from them to date, Angelic Chaos Reboot. The story follows Riku Tanikaze, an ordinary student living a normal life until one day a beautiful girl with snow-white wings descends to meet him. The girl informs Riku that she is an angel sent from the heavens to search for him, the reincarnation of the demon lord from another world. And thus, Riku's peaceful life quickly spirals into chaos as he begins experiencing memories from his past life and encounters visitors from the other fantasy world. But those aren't his biggest problems, as his most concerning ordeal is him getting ED. This visual novel starts off sounding absurd. Riku Tanikaze's male-focused issue as a result of the angel restraining his demon powers is a ridiculous setup. It's played up to various degrees of absurdities and internal male agony. But here's the thing, beneath that wild setup is actually a surprisingly thoughtful and loving story. Yes, the ED problem creates some hilarious and embarrassing situations for the characters, but it's also handled with caring consideration too. Each of the heroines has their own unique approach towards helping Riku with this problem, which leads to some really touching character development and romantic moments. I really like every one of the characters in here. There's Kaguya, the royal princess from another world, a cheerful, mild-mannered girl with a bit of a mischievous side to her. Kurumi, an energetic, charismatic gal girl classmate who happens to be the demon lord's right-hand aide in her past life. Amane, Riku's teasing younger sister, who also happens to be the demon lord's vampire confidant in her past life. And Noah, the pure-hearted, dutiful angel sent down to the heavens to protect Riku, who ends up being corrupted with anime, manga, and food. There's even fantastic side characters whose routes and personalities I've enjoyed the most out of every side route in every Yuzusoft visual novel I've read. All of the girls are fun to watch, and it's very wholesome to see the romances evolve from, wow, this is an awkward situation, into genuine connections that feel earned as they deal with their real-life relationship problems and the fantasy hijinks. What really stood out is how much I got really invested in the story's fantasy elements. As you read, you'll gradually piece together the history, major events, and key characters from the other world, and it will really make you feel for those individuals. Some of them even parallel Arcas's real-world circumstances, which is pretty clever. The whole past life transmigration premise isn't just played for laughs, there's some serious heart in here. So if you're looking for a romance visual novel that has ridiculous humor and yet also has surprising depth to it, all with a dash of fantasy, definitely check out Angelic Chaos Reboot. Although, you might want to check out other particular visual novel storefronts like Jas, Denpasoft, and Manga Gamer, because this title was unfortunately banned on Steam for unexplainable reasons. And those were all of the Yuzusoft romance visual novels currently out right now. Yuzusoft is a visual novel studio that I will always keep coming back to their games for that sweet, wholesome rom-com vibes. I would very much recommend them if you want that anime-flavored romance. As for what to start with first, really you can start with whatever title whose premise you're interested in. But if you want my personal recommendation, Senran Banka is perfectly fine, although I would also recommend Son of a Witch if you're okay with its wacky premise. For those who have read these titles, which one is your favorite and what did you enjoy from it? I'm sure plenty of newcomers would love to hear your opinions. If you enjoyed this breakdown of this developer and their titles, you definitely want to check out this video over here, or check out this video for a general visual novel recommendation. I would like to thank everyone on Patreon for supporting me in covering visual novels. You guys are fantastic, and if you would like to be a part of that effort, please consider subscribing.